Hey, Deb or John, I don't know if you see this on the meetup page itself. People are commenting and asking for password. I'm not logged in and don't know how to log in, so I can't comment back.
Deb is send a message to the meetup page.
Okay.
I presume. Now I just have to figure out why Deb doesn't have a microphone.
Okay.
So how was everybody's day?
Great.
I'm going to tell you something really good happened to me today, and I just want to share this with you all. Where's my Zoom page, my camera? So I went to the grocery store, which is, we all know, is like just terrifying right now. You got your mask, you got your gloves, you got your social distance. It's a very, very stressful thing. But I came out of the grocery store with a 6-pack of toilet paper. There was toilet paper on the shelves.
Okay.
I know.
Congratulations.
Hello.
I think that means we've flattened the curve.
Oh, wait, one
That's
sec.
fine.
I guess I have to make this louder.
I feel like a rock star.
EP victory.
That's pretty hilarious.
All right. Sorry about that, guys. For some reason, there was a password, but I just sent it to everybody in the group, so whoever wants to join should. There they go.
Now they're coming in.
There we go.
Sorry about that. Hi. How is everyone?
Excellent.
Great.
Good. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. What we usually do is we have everybody introduce themselves for like 30 seconds, say who they are, what they're working on if they want to, and then we pass it along, and then we get to Nancy, and Nancy takes it away from there. So let's start with Dylan. You want to start?
I'm Dylan. I go to NYU Film. I'm a freshman. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We're all in this quarantine life right now, so not really working on anything, but that's pretty much it.
Okay. Charles?
I am Charles. I'm actually a still photographer, and I had one of my greatest days ever last Wednesday. I was photographing doctors and nurses at White Plains Hospital. It was intense and amazing. They are unbelievable people.
Rob?
Hi, I'm Rob Graydon. I'm a director editor. Also do a lot of post-production supervision, special effects, digital effects, visual effects. Right now we're just, I have a couple of projects on hold because of the quarantine. So my sons, who are filmmakers and actors as well, decided, why not? Let's shoot a feature film inside of quarantine. So we're in the middle of writing that right now.
Yeah, Rob, just so you know, Rob's edited a couple of my films, or a few of my films now, and he's also going to be doing color grading and all kinds of stuff. And Dylan was on a couple of our film sets also, which is cool. Okay, let's go to John Marine. He's next.
I'm Debbie's husband.
And?
Oh, dear. I teach entertainment control technology at City Tech in Brooklyn. I used to run the LaGuardia Technical Theater program, which Dylan was in. And I shoot films for Debbie. And I work with Rob, and I keep people busy.
Scott?
My name's Scott. I'm a writer, director, a filmmaker. Right now I'm working on a feature script, and it's about AI that also involves love and philosophy. And yeah, just making short films with my brother too. Sometimes just trying to stretch the creative vibes and talk to people. Love coming here. So thanks for having us again. John, Debbie, thank you.
Cool. Tony?
Tony Dionisio, live in Suffolk County, local filmmaker, trying to make my first feature film. Hopefully I'll be shooting it later this year when everything opens up.
Calm down.
Yeah, exactly, when everything calms down, and take it from there.
Radu?
Hi, I am living in Long Island in Nassau. I'm not sure if the camera works, but anyway, it does. So I'm doing travel documentaries, which I'm working right now on about killing the demons in Nepal. And also I have a consulting company and I build post-production and studios and, transmission and everything in Manhattan. And here is my son, Victor, who's an aspiring actor and a student in Boston. Oh.
Okay, Ken, oh, sorry, is that it, or I don't want to cut you off? Okay, Ken?
Hi, I'm Ken Frank. I'm a filmmaker on Long Island. Went to NYU a number of years ago, so cool to see some NYU folks on. Good for you guys. Just had a live stream on Twitch of a feature we finished a few months back, or actually just finished, shot a few months back, and trying to figure out when we can shoot our next. Hoping for an August window, but we'll see. And that's me.
Okay, Dina?
Hi, I was muted because I have the dog. My name's Dina Druduva. I'm an actor, photographer, filmmaker, content creator. I have a short that's been on the shelf for like almost 2 years that I need to finish. It's like so close to finishing, it's not even funny. I hate when that happens. So just wanted to connect with some filmmakers and kind of get my creative juices flowing since there's no work right now.
If your film's in post, this is the time to get it done.
Yes, that's right.
Stephen? Stephen Siwak?
Siwak. If you can't pronounce it, that's me. Hi, I'm Steve. The other Steve. Hi, Steve Loomis. I am an entertainment engineer, or I was until this coronavirus thing hit, and a lot of people in my company got laid off. Designing big theme park events, Broadway shows, Cirque du Soleil stuff. But I've always wanted to be involved in filmmaking. I have one script that I'm getting close to finishing, a short script, which I was hoping to start making plans to film later this year. I don't know how those plans are going to progress. A couple of other ideas that are in various stages of being written down. So I've done community theater work for a number of years. When I was living upstate, I ran Stormy Weather Players. So we put on various large and small productions with that group.
Stephen Loomis?
Hi, guys. Yeah, I'm still Stephen Loomis. My background is as a writer, it still is. I've offered to volunteer on anyone else's project in any capacity I'm capable of to learn filmmaking. I've got a small group going. It's a writer's group. It tends to be scripts, but other formats are welcome. Steve and I have collaborated on his script. If anyone is interested, send me a sample. I'll send you a sample. If the styles seem compatible, terrific. And that's me.
Okay. Samuel Hall? Give Samuel a second. If not, we'll move on. May not want to talk.
May I also point out something? There are people out there, I think, that are having trouble finding the password to join.
Yeah, I know. I sent an email to all the members.
Perfect.
So they should all have gotten it. I'm not sure why that happened this time, but
thank you.
Sorry, Nancy.
It happens.
Okay, so Sam's not answering. Regina? Regina? All right, they'll probably pack it. Heather, how did I miss Heather? Okay, Heather.
Hi, I'm Heather Brittany Scantlin. I am an actress. I am a film producer, and I am vice chair on the board of the Garden State Film Festival in New Jersey, which we actually just had our 18th annual festival, March 25th through the 29th, right after everything was shut down, and we were the first festival to successfully live stream our entire program, all 230 films. That's very exciting. So that kept me busy for the first couple weeks of quarantine. But yeah, now I'm cleaning closets. But I'm also, I work with Nancy, our guest of honor tonight, on a couple of productions now. Her film As It Seems, which she directed, that's where we met when she cast me as the lead in that awesome film, which Nancy will get into further down. And our newest project that now I also acted in, Nancy wrote and directed, and we produced together, Victim Number 6, hitting festivals when they open up again.
Question mark. We don't know.
So sometime it's done. We're just
sorry. Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah, Heather's also been in a couple of my films.
Yes, I have.
Might be a few because I have something planned I'll tell you about in a second. But Julia, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Oops. Hello?
Hello?
Hello. Yes, I'm an NYFT member, New York Women for Film and Television. Somehow I received information about your meetings, guys, and I start to join. So it's look forward to see more.
Cool.
But I'm
David?
from New York.
Sorry.
Yeah.
David, you didn't speak yet, did you? I'm like missing people. Sorry about that.
I did not speak yet. So I'm David Chai. I'm a filmmaker, writer, director. My first feature actually won Best Feature at the Long Island International Film Festival 2018. And I have, well, I was trying to get my next feature going until this lockdown happens, so I don't know when that's going to start back up. I was just trying to get casting at this point. But anyway, just trying to keep busy.
Okay, cool, thank you. Did everybody speak so far? Who wants to speak? Okay, well, I'll just introduce myself. Debbie Markowitz. I am currently the Nassau County Film Commissioner. I also am the Vice President of the Long Island Film and TV Foundation and one of the co-directors of LIFE, the Long Island International Film Expo. Also a writer, director, casting director, producer, all kinds of fun stuff. And I've used this time in quarantine to get so far 3 of my 5 films out of post, and I have 2 more that I'm getting so close with, working with the composers right now. 2 different composers and 2 different editors for 2 different films. Rob's going to be working on one of them, I think, right? A couple of guys, I think. I don't know. I have so much stuff going on. I don't know. But I'm in post on a feature called The Only Woman in the World, which Heather's also in. And and she's also in a couple of guys, which we have the first 2 episodes pretty well edited. We're just waiting for the beginning, and it's being composed as we speak. And I'm going to be doing a Zoom short, I think on May 11th or 12th. It's a couple of guys, a short couple of guys episode we just decided to do because everybody wants to do something. So we're doing that, and I am considered doing another short if I can fit it in before I go back to work, called The Waiting Room, which I want to do by Zoom, which Heather's going to be in that too, though she doesn't know it yet. And so now let's introduce Nancy. I met Nancy a couple of years ago at LIFE. She submitted a short film called what is it called? As It Seems?
As It Seems.
Yeah, and it just blew me away. It's one of the few films I gave a 10 to, which I don't do that often.
Oh, thank you.
And she came to LIFE, and it was just brilliant. It's hard to do a period piece. But anyway, so take it away, Nancy.
Hi, everyone. I am not a great public speaker, so I get nervous. So I wrote a lot of notes in true like producer form to try and like keep everything kind of organized, and so I don't get too boring or redundant. So if I refer to that, you know that that's what I'm looking at. So I guess briefly, like a little bit about me. I grew up in New York. My parents are both lawyers, but they like secretly are very creative people. So I think if circumstances had been different, it would have been my mom is a painter, my dad is a writer. So I think in some weird ways, I kind of got the organization from the legal side and then the creative from like their secret like side lives. Yeah, I've always been very interested in like visuals, visual composition and storytelling as like 2 components that you could put together. So when I was really young, I really enjoyed photography. And then as I was getting older in high school, you can kind of, you know, pick and choose what you wanted to do. I wound up doing photography and film. I wound up going to NYU it was the only film school I applied to, and I kind of figured, you know, I applied everywhere else for photography, and I said, if I get in, you know, that's the sort of, that's like the nod that that's the direction I should go in. I wasn't gonna travel very far. I wanted to stay close to home. I got in, so it kind of was like a no-brainer decision to go there, and I loved it. It's nice to see there are other NYU people here. So I started, like, I guess the beginning of my like legitimate film career at NYU, and I took a semester. I studied abroad in FAMU, which is the film school in Prague. After I graduated, I went back for a period of time, and I assistant directed a short film project there. I did do some freelance work, and then ultimately I wound up working for the governor's film office, where I didn't actually meet Debbie, but had heard her name often, you know, around the office amongst my colleagues. So when I did finally get to meet her, it was like meeting a celebrity, because I feel like I had known her for years anyway. So I am not sure entirely like the format of all this. That's kind of like vaguely my background. Ultimately, I wound up leaving the governor's office because I felt that I wanted to go back towards the creative side. And obviously, you know, it is like a government agency. So we were dealing in like different, like a different side of filmmaking than I had studied and that I was kind of hoping to pursue. So I wound up taking some time off at that point to sort of reevaluate what direction I wanted to go in. And like, you know, to be very frank, like my father had passed away. There was a lot of different things that kind of led me to that place of, you know, my path wasn't like where I thought it would be at that point. So I took some time off and I wound up finishing As It Seems. And, you know, that kind of brought me to the festival circuit, which is where I was like re-exposed to a lot of other creative people who are all doing things that, you know, like I've wanted to do myself and felt like I had kind of like lost my place in. So I felt like that was a really good re-entry back into sort of the film world. And Heather is much more of like a networky person than I am. I tend to get very nervous talking to people I don't know. But it was really nice also to like get to meet other people who had similar passions and interests to mine, and you know, exploring different ideas and watching different people's projects. And so that was a really good experience, and it kind of actually started like laying the groundwork for my latest project, because Heather and I were doing a lot of obviously this festival, that festival, and somewhere along the way, I'm not sure exactly what like sparked it in her mind of she wanted to work with a mutual friend of ours, an actor, Russ Russo, and she just like shot me a message one day and was like, hey, like, do you have any ideas that, you know, we can just like throw around and like maybe we could make something. And this was sort of towards the end of As It Seems doing its festival thing. I was kind of in the middle of working on a feature script, which I'm still kind of in the middle of working on, so have to kind of keep going with it. But, you know, at that time I was interested in working on another production and maybe like didn't have entirely the confidence to do it all by myself. So having somebody, having Heather kind of, you know, initiate a conversation about like, do you have any ideas? We started like throwing some stuff back and forth. I wrote a script and she's like, let's do it. I'm going to help you produce it. It's going to be great. And we're here now. So for any, like, I don't know if anybody else relates to this feeling, but for sure there have been times when I'm like, oh, can I do this? Like, am I capable? Do I have it in me? Or, you know, even if you just like lose confidence for whatever reason, like, you know, my circumstances are very specific, you know, like that involve grief and, you know, different things that kind of led me adrift to like having to find my way back. But definitely one thing I want to like say for everybody is that like we're all very capable if we give ourselves the chance to like go out and do it. Like I think I set some goals for myself with this project that considering the degree of feeling a little insecure, or feeling a little like unsure of myself at times. I don't know what I was thinking. It was pretty ambitious. So I think if you could dive right back into it and like find a way to make it work, like I think, you know, it's just a testament to like how strong we are and like how resilient we are as like artists. Like if we want to do it, we can make it happen. So just as like a little inspirational note, I'm throwing that out there. So that's
you like, would you, I'm sorry,
no.
These are both period pieces, right? Both of your films are period pieces?
Yeah.
Well, how did, have you always had this thing for history or older films, or what was the idea that?
So with it's funny because like that's one of my notes was period pieces, because it is like I've done 2 of them now. I must just be like masochistic because they are hard, but they're also so much fun. For As It Seems, how that came about, and we can watch some of that. I think you have the video, but you know, that was very like for thematic reasons that we set that in the early 1960s. It had less to do with you know, that it needed to be there, but more to do with sort of like a mindset of like that was a transitionary time in like history, and kind of like we idealized it, but really there was like a lot of things about to, you know, with the war and everything else, like things were really starting to change from like this idealistic like American dream of like the 50s, like post World War II, into like now we're entering like counterculture, which is really going against like what felt comfortable, etc. And like, you know, the war, and like, you know, experimenting with drugs, and sort of like the drug culture that sort of like came from that. So I mean, once you watch the film, like maybe that will make more sense when I say it like that. With victim number 6, it was not so much like, oh, I really want to, like, I only want to do period pieces, but the film is basically a woman goes out in the 1970s while there's a serial killer out on the loose. So in talking about the idea for the film, it sort of didn't make a lot of sense to me to set it in the present day, because if you think about like what are topical issues, like what are the, well, now coronavirus, but at the time when we were having these this discussion, and I was trying to think about like, you know, what's that going to look like? The topical issues are like gun violence and school shootings and, you know, things like that. If you said like, oh, are you afraid? Am I afraid to go out in the world because a serial killer might come get me? The answer is no. I don't feel like that's my biggest concern. But, you know, my mom will tell me stories. She was like a 20-something, young 20-year-old in law school. And she went to law school young. That's why she was so young. But, you know, guys would ask her out. And if she didn't want to go out, she would say, oh, I don't want to go because Son of Sam's out there. So that would be a legitimate, it's like, I don't know what they were thinking about, but she used that as a legitimate excuse to sort of turn down dates at times. So, I mean, I kind of think with this particular project, it made sense from that perspective of, you know, that being more topical in the 70s. Actually, serial killers were at their peak in the 70s and then declined in the 80s. But another thing with period pieces that I really appreciate, just like as an aside, is I don't really like technology in film unless you're setting it obviously in a futuristic kind of sense, or you're dealing in technologies that maybe don't exist yet. Like I'm a huge fan of Westworld, and I don't know if anybody watches that show, but you know, I love the concept of where it's going. It's, you know, the new season's out. I love the concept of where it's going. But I don't have an interest in watching like people on their cell phones if I'm going to see a movie, for one. And that's a real, like, that's sort of real life, is if you were to shoot a movie set in the present, everyone's checking their phones, everyone's texting, everyone's on social media. So you have the issue of incorporating that into story. And then also characters have information very readily available, which I don't always love. And if you want to put your character in a bad situation, you have to make a loophole for why it's hard for them to get out of it. If I'm in a dark alley, I could turn on my app and like hold the button until I'm in a safe space. And, you know, they have apps like that now, or I could just call the police. So, you know, every horror movie, it's sort of become a trope. Oh, there's no cell service. So I kind of feel, just from a storytelling perspective, like the heavy use of technology, like how readily information is accessible, et cetera. Like, I feel like it's not as much fun to write around that stuff, unless really it plays into your story heavily. So that's like just one part of that for me, you know, and that's aside from like cool costumes and like, you know, retro looking like set pieces. And like, I mean, I'm kind of a sucker for like a good 1950s dress, like tea dress, or, you know, like anything that's a little bit like retro and cool. I feel like it's a little bit exciting. It's outside of like what people see every day. So if I go to a movie and I see somebody's wearing like a really awesome outfit from 1975 and they like walk into a bar and it feels like you're there, the music's playing, it like sets a vibe. And I think like that's part of what storytelling is all about, is like, let's set that vibe and like get people to feel like they're really there. So that is like another element of it, the fun part. Sorry, Deb, I think you've got your mic off.
Do you want to, I'm sorry, do you want to show the movie? So then, because I'm sure they're going to have a lot of questions after, As It Seems.
Yeah, if everybody consents to watching it, I would be happy to show you As It Seems. And then, you know, we could talk a little bit about it and, you know, a little more about victim number 6. And also, I'd love to hear your thoughts on anything.
Okay, now hopefully we've been lucky. There we go. We've been lucky with the quality. Once we weren't, but let's hope this is not another one time. Okay, John will take it away. Let's give him a second.
No, it looks really nice. Okay. No, I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. All right, goodbye.
Good morning, Miss Annette. How are you feeling today? Who were you on the phone with?
How did you know I was on the phone?
I could hear you.
With the door closed from all the way over here?
I have excellent hearing. Was it Roger?
Yes, it was Dr. Monaco.
He's on his way. He's on his way?
How do you know?
He always seems to call you when he's on his way. Did he head out early this morning? He didn't say goodbye before he left. He usually says goodbye before he goes.
Well, he probably didn't want to wake you. Oh, don't forget to take your pills before you eat those. Are you all right? Miss Annette?
Yes?
Is there something wrong?
I didn't think so. Unless you know something I don't.
Not at all. For a moment, you just seemed...
I'd like to bathe now.
Of course. I'll get that ready for you.
I'm pruning.
Oh, your nails are getting long. Why don't I cut them for you?
Green fingernails. Your fingernails. Green is a rather atypical choice. Roger's favorite color is green.
Is it?
Looking forward to this afternoon.
Hi.
Oh, hello, Annette. You look very nice.
Thank you. What's in a tin?
Oh, gingerbread cookies.
For the party?
Yes, I thought they were festive.
I love gingerbread cookies.
Aren't they the best?
You know, I will hold on to those until the party starts. Okay? Can I talk to you for a moment?
Of course. Mona will resume this conversation later, if that's all right.
Of course.
Gingerbread cookies really are my favorite.
It was either gingerbread or peanut butter. I'm glad I chose correctly.
I know everyone's really looking forward to tonight. I can't wait to see what you do to this old place. When are you going to start setting up?
Soon.
Is Mona going to help?
Mona?
Yes, you know, help you decorate and get everything together.
Why would she do that?
Well, it is what she's paid for, to help out around here.
Mona's aesthetic is not very sophisticated. I mean, the girl thinks it's stylish to paint her nails green, for God's sake.
Well, I don't know, dear. I think it's festive.
Yes. Well, I think it's quite strange. Maybe that's what the kids are doing these days, but I prefer things a little more traditional.
Nothing wrong with that. I just don't want you to work so hard that you're exhausted by the time the party starts.
Oh, no. Shelley offered to come by and help. She had a few things to take care of this morning, but she should be here in a little while. And I just thought maybe it would be better if Mona focused her attention on other things. Don't you agree? Yes, well, she should be finishing up shortly.
Great. Sounds like you've got it all covered. You seem a little tense. Is there something bothering you?
Should there be?
Well, I don't think that there should be. But that doesn't mean that there isn't.
think lying is acceptable.
I think in certain instances, yes, it is. Sometimes it's in the deceived person's best interest to be lied to. Why do you ask?
What about keeping secrets?
Well, everyone has their secrets. What's this really about?
Sorry to interrupt. Annette Shelley's looking for you to start decorating.
So, I say to her, green is a rather atypical choice. Roger's favorite color is green. And she says, is it?
Unbelievable.
Who does that?
Nobody, that's who.
And I mentioned him later, that I thought it was tacky. But of course, he just thought it was festive. It's also suspicious. She's the worst, though. And I've been trying lately to talk to her. You know, casually. Try to see if I can get her to slip and say something. I ask her, what does she do for fun? Is she seeing someone? She just gets quiet. Doesn't want to talk about her personal life. It's like she's hiding something.
Sounds like it. What young woman is so secretive about her personal life? And she's not married. She's not married, which is odd because she's very pretty. Just think about it. How easy is it these days for a crazy person to get away with murder? I bet Mona's not even her real name. And what's with him for going along with him?
I know. I'm always walking in on them, talking about this, that, laughing. He's constantly talking to her. He tells her everything. He talks to her about his patients. Or my favorite, I'll overhear her reporting to him about what I've been doing all day. And then I come in the room and they act like I'm not supposed to hear.
The nerve. Have you confronted him?
Anytime I try to talk to him about anything, he just says, oh, you're confused, or you must be mistaken, or let's discuss why you're projecting these fears onto me. He reverts into doctor mode and tries to act like I don't know what's going on. I know exactly what's going on.
How dare he make it your problem?
It's bad. But I'm starting to worry something more sinister is going on.
What do you mean?
The other day, when I came home from picking up the decorations,
yes,
I saw her in the kitchen. And on the counter were like all these pill bottles, tons of them, 15, 20 bottles. She didn't see me. I watched from around the corner, but I saw her going through all these prescription pill bottles. I think she's trying to drug me.
Oh my God.
Because you know what? She brings me my vitamins every morning. And I've been hiding them so she doesn't notice that I'm not taking them. But honestly, I'm afraid that one of these days she's going to slip something else in there, and that's going to be the end of me.
Well, you've got to do something about this. You and I will observe them at the party, and if we see anything suspicious, you've got to take action.
Really?
Of course. You can't wait for her to medicate you to death.
Wonderful job. The place is smashing.
Yes, smashing.
Are you all right?
I'm fine. I'm just a little tired.
Well, maybe a cookie will help. Shelley? Well, I better go mingle. I'll talk to you later.
Like a cookie makes up for everything. Look at that.
Hold this. Mona.
Sorry, you scared me. Are you all right?
Can I talk to you in the bedroom for a minute?
Of course.
No, what's the matter? Did something happen with Shelley?
Shelley.
Did she say something to upset you?
Why would you assume that?
You just seem a bit perturbed. I just thought that maybe...
Shelley is the only one around here I can trust.
Now, you know that's not true, Annette.
Do I?
We are all here to support you and are looking out for what's best for you. Dr. Monaco...
Oh, what about him? Because he's what this is all about, isn't he?
Do you want me to go get Dr. Monaco?
Why did Roger give you the tin?
What?
The tin.
The cookies?
Are you two seeing each other?
Why would you ask
Are
that?
you?
Why don't we just...
Are you seeing my husband?
Annette, he's not your husband.
What are you talking about?
I think that you should go talk to him. Maybe I should go get him.
You know, I've never been inside a cathedral before. Coffee's the ones over here, but we got them. But we got Catholics too. What? Did you make a mistake? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it was. What? Whatever it was, however small, it led me to you. Don't tell me what's underneath is what matters. What?
learned a very harsh lesson about fonts in end credits, by the way. Just because, you know,
Surprised me. When I saw this, not only was I amazed by the quality of it, but at the end, when I saw this was a student film, it's like, what? I mean,
Yeah.
everybody, if you want to, she deserves it, man. This is awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry, what
So-
were you saying?
Sorry?
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, what were you saying?
No, I was going to just say that maybe it makes a little sense now when I was saying the decision to make this a period piece related more to like general themes rather than actually, I mean, it needing to be set in that time period. This is like a character who's obviously mentally very fragile and is trying to preserve some like idea of like a perfect life, even though things are very far from it. So this idea of setting it in like a precarious time period to sort of mirror the mental state that she's in kind of felt appropriate, especially since I knew that there was going to be that jump shot that leads to the present where there's the reveal of like what the reality of her situation is. But yeah, just as like a little bit of background with that script, you know, the idea being that like you don't really know what's going on throughout the story, but I very much wanted like the audience to see it from her perspective, because if you're seeing it just from the way that she's seeing it, which is obviously a distorted view of reality, you could feel sorry for her, feel that, you know, she's feeling very insecure and threatened. And then when you see the reality of it and the behavior, you know, the extreme she went to, it's not in defense of that, but it's giving like a fuller picture almost of a person who, like, if that's what her reality is, you know, maybe those actions seem justified. We have to be like able to see everything from different perspectives. So that was part of the reason behind like wanting to tell it from her angle, and then switching over to more of like an objective reality. So that was my thesis project, which I finished. I did not finish it when I was in school. I finished it outside of school. But some people, you know, our composer for that actually did the composition for our newest film. Heather obviously is in my newest film project, helped produce that project. I'm trying to think if there was anyone else who was attached to. Sorry, I'm just realizing that there's a chat that I haven't been looking at. And anyone who wants to jump in can feel free to jump in with anything. How did I find the cast for As It Seems? So for that film project, we did casting for all of the roles. The only person I knew prior to filming that was the woman who played her friend Shelley. She's actually was my mom's former sister-in-law, and she's a psychologist, and she's an acting coach. So she actually used to teach Nathan Lane. She used to be his teacher. So I was like, this seems like a no-brainer. I have to ask her if she'll be in the project. And I actually think that scene is one of my favorites because it breaks up a lot of tension in the film. She's basically the comedic relief. So I think that it's necessary sometimes when there's a lot of tension that there are moments like you give the audience a break from that sort of thing. Hold on, just reading through what was your greatest challenge with the film? What wasn't the greatest challenge of the film? I filmed it when I was like 21. I'm trying to think because, you know, it's one of these things like Murphy's Law. Everybody talks about how everything goes wrong with filmmaking. Oddly enough, the hospital thing was not so hard, but which you would think that would be the hardest thing. We shot it in New Jersey, getting everybody down to Jersey. Probably one of the biggest challenges was the bathtub scene, because I had this vision of it being like in this you know, glamorous porcelain tub. We filmed it at my aunt's house. She did not have a porcelain tub. We rented one as a prop. It was maybe £1 million. So we got there and she did not want us carrying it upstairs to like any bathroom that we could, or like the space we had thought we were going to shoot in essentially was like an empty spare room. But it would have required us walking up and she's like, this is going to break my floor. Like, you can't put water in this upstairs. Like, it's just, we had just visions of everything falling apart. So we actually shot that scene in 2 different locations. The bathtub was put in like the middle of her living room, like in the front of her house with like these like gauze drapes that like probably anybody who's walking by is like, what the heck is going on in there? There's like lights coming from outside. We filled it with, we were bringing buckets to fill it with water. And then the parts where Heather was acting across from Cole, who played Mona, we shot those upstairs. So we made them look like they were the same room. So that was a challenge. I didn't fully answer the casting question. We did open casting. People came in. We looked at who we liked, and obviously we loved Heather. And you
It's
know,
backstage, right? You from how
I
that's
don't.
how I
It was
auditioned.
either. I think it was backstage. I can't. I honestly couldn't even remember all the like at this point. But yeah, I mean, it was good because like we had a small cast, so I already knew like I wanted to ask Joe, who played Shelley. So I had like one, and then we did the open casting for the other roles. Background was kind of just background. I feel like is always just like piecing together like who can we just get to like show up to do background, because you know, if you're like an actor, you may not want to go do background, but if you're not an actor, you don't necessarily also want to go do background. It's like a weird spot. So so that was maybe like more of a challenge with that with As It Seems even than it was with Victim Number 6. And Victim Number 6 we shot all overnight, so we just had like some really awesome friends doing favors.
Nancy, I want to jump in. I really enjoyed the film. I thought you got wonderful performances out of your actors, and just really the scope of the whole thing, the scale. Just you were, as you were talking about the background actors, sometimes those little moments, the textures you give us to look at, it really is successful on screen, and really seals everything together, even with your story. I guess my question would be, because, you know, I saw that you produced it too, which is a big undertaking. I know getting a lot of people specifically in a certain location, it's a challenge. Do you have any aspirations to do something in a larger scale, or you're going to stick to basically what the script calls for, I'm sure, but does some part of you want to sort of expand further? Because that was really impressive to see.
I appreciate that. So yeah, I mean, producing your own stuff, if anybody's done it, it's very hard and stressful. That was out of necessity, you know, as we discussed, it started as a student project. The person who was supposed to be my producer, I don't really know what happened. He kind of was dropping the ball a lot. So I picked up the ball out of fear of, you know, the ball not going anywhere. And then like right when we were about to shoot, he's like, yeah, I can't make it. So it was really like a lot, and it was unfortunate. I think like we made it work despite that. And honestly, I have to give like a massive shout out to my mom, Lucille. And well, in this case, my Aunt Lisa too, because both of them were like in the kitchen doing crafty, like it was insane. But yeah, so in terms of, I guess what you're asking about expanding it, I've had people, so with this film and even Victim Number 6, which is the newer project that I was working on, I've had a few people watch it and sort of say you could kind of go further with it, which I think is it's a really big compliment, because it means that like people enjoyed it and they do want more. I don't know that I would expand on As It Seems necessarily, because sometimes more isn't always better. Like, I think you see a lot of examples of this even in television shows that just kind of like, they can't find the sweet spot of like, this is like a natural end or like a really happy place to leave this. So I think with As It Seems, I feel very comfortable that it stands on its own. And I really honestly, to think through, I mean, what's going to happen to her? She's crazy and she murdered someone, and she's likely going to stay where she is, or, you know, I mean, do you know what I mean? It's sort of, it would be trying to figure that out. You could maybe go to the prequel of like how she got there, but I'm kind of comfortable with that one being a standalone.
No, I get that. I just meant, my bad. I didn't clarify. I meant like, it was very visual. So the fact that you wrote the visuals, you had them storyboarded, you figured out the shot with some group of people, and were able to actually achieve what you put on this page. That is what I'm saying is like really impressive. And do you see the spectacle, the scale of that growing out? Because everything that you handled here was really well done. I just wanted to say.
Oh, I guess maybe I understand a little bit better. Like, I think when you're in the moment, it's too much to really comprehend even what's happening from minute to minute. I watch it now. This is the first time I've watched it in a little while. And I will say that it's a piece that I am proud of. Like, I think we always look back and like, oh, what if I had done that? Or what if but I think like I'm about as proud of it as I can be. You know what I mean? I am pleased with, even if like no one ever saw it but me, I think I would still be proud of the hard work of everybody involved. And specifically, I think too, like, because I mean, as I mentioned earlier, like it became a challenge to finish because, you know, after we shot, I was editing. My father got sick very quickly and passed away. And there were a lot of other elements to that, you know, made that a long time to deal with that. So the film took sort of the backseat to a lot of other things going on. And I think like finishing it in and of itself is something I'm really proud of, because I obviously struggled with what I was dealing with in my life, and I never gave up on what my vision was or like what I wanted to achieve. So I think in terms of the spectacle, it's almost just I'm just proud of myself for like crossing the finish line, and that it would be a project that I would be proud of, and that other people seem to enjoy is like an added bonus, really, for me. But yeah, so that was, I mean, I didn't think it would get crazier than that, but I feel like the newer film is even like wilder in some ways. Like I'm excited for it because it builds on like a spot where I feel like I left off on, and like I wanted to sort of like one up myself, and we're working in like a short format, so you can kind of go a little bit big and it still is a little bit manageable because it's not like we're on this set for like endless amounts of days. But I felt like having accomplished that, like particularly when it went through the festival circuit, it was well received. So in my mind, I was like, I really want to work on something that's going to push myself a little bit more. It wound up being a period piece as well. But I mean, in terms of what we tried to accomplish with that, we had a picture car. We had to rent out a bar. You know, trying to find that location was tricky. You know, I mentioned the hospital scene. That was a favor. And by the way, like people may say no, but there's no harm in ever asking, is like kind of my attitude. And like a lot of people say no, but that was like a crazy favor that I never thought would play out that way. And it did. And, you know, you talk to people like, I think want to help. Like most of the time, if someone can help you and you're nice and you like approach them and you're like, hey, like, you know, could we work on this? This is something my dad my dad always said, it's like, there's no harm in asking, there's no harm in trying. Like, write that letter if you're trying to like reach out to someone. Well, back then it was letters, but make the phone call, see what you can do. If it doesn't work out, like, you didn't lose anything. So I think, so that I just wanted to double back on that, because I think that's another big thing that I tried to apply with the new film is, I wanted to have from the very beginning, and I don't know how many people are familiar with the song Vehicle by the Ides of March. It's like a really awesome 1970s song. I wrote the script for Victim Number 6, and I'm like, I want that to be the last song of the movie. And I sent an email, and it's the last song of the movie. I mean, it wasn't, that was not a favor. We did have to obviously pay for the rights. I mean, it's a major song, but again, it's like making the effort to ask, to put it out there. We wanted to name Heineken the brand. I mean, we might have been able to, because we were using it in the way that the brand was supposed to be used. We're not like hitting someone over the head with a Heineken bottle where they're like, that's not how you're supposed to use our product. But we wanted to make sure we had permission, so it wouldn't be like we get to the end of the day and they're like, why are you talking about Heineken in like a movie about like this or whatever. So that was an interesting ask, because the guys from Heineken were having a lot of fun. Like they're like, oh, we're at the bar. Sorry, I'll call you tomorrow. And I'm like, okay. But it worked. That's another one that just worked out. The picture car, Heather asked a friend, and we got basically a picture car for
really
$200, as opposed to like thousands or multiple hundreds. It was not. So sorry, that's like a lot of words just to say it never hurts to ask. You never know, even if the answer is, I can't do it for this, but I can go here for you. Maybe that's like the make or break. And sometimes even keeping things like open-ended, a lot of times I'd be like, well, I can't give you this much. I remember I was talking with a crew member, and I was like, I like to be fair. And I also don't like to say like, I can only give you this. Because these are people who are working, at very reduced rates for passion projects. So I personally take the approach of not wanting to put a price tag on like their value or their talent as an artist. So I try to do more of like a conversation, engaging with people. And at one point I was talking with somebody, and I was like, please, what is your normal rate? Like, obviously we don't have like massive amounts of money just like flowing everywhere, but keeping that in mind, like, what do you think you could do for us? And he like cut his rate in half, and I didn't have to say like, I can only do this, or can you put it here, and it was much less, him cutting his rate in half was much less than what I was anticipating. I was ready like for him to be like, maybe this much, and like trying to find that like extra amount, because I really wanted him to work on the project. Or even our sound guy, he's a friend of mine. He's like, you don't have to pay me, just, cover the cost of the equipment. So, I think people who believe in you and believe in your projects, like, or, even just like reaching out, like, it's good to know that there are people who want to help, and like that artists want to work together. And I'm a big believer in like mutual respect, like having a good set. I don't know, like if any of you guys have been on like really awful shoots, in whatever that means for the kinds of jobs that you do. I've been on some bad shoots where, like, as an example, I was a PA and a driver. I had to wake up at 4 a.m, drive everyone to Connecticut, work the full day that was overtime, drive everyone back, and then get home at like midnight. So that's like, and then you get to set and the people you're working with aren't nice to you. So, and I actually wound up speaking up on that set, and I got fired because I said, I can't drive if I don't have enough time to rest. It's not safe for anybody. It's not safe for me. And in so many words, they were like, we don't need you to come back. The person who took over my car crashed the next day. So I'm a big believer in like trying to make sure you take care of your crew. And on top of that, like putting together a crew where everyone respects each other and everyone can have fun. Like it's work and it's, you know, victim number 6, we did overnights, but we had 12 hours turnaround. Some days it was 12 plus hours turnaround. If that's what it has to be, it's what it's got to be. It doesn't matter, because you want people to come to set and feel safe and comfortable, and like they can talk to you if there's a problem, and that no one like is going to disrespect them either. You know, there's been certain things that happen where, you know, there were issues between like one person and another, and it's like, or like a misunderstanding. And I'm like, if there's a problem, always say something. I always want to know what's going on, because you can't deal with it unless you know about it. So I'm a big believer in that, in terms of crew and like, you know, looking after your people. You know, these are people who like sign up to work on your gig, and like they could be doing better things. They could be sleeping, you know. So I'm a big believer in that. I'm sorry. I'm like very bad at the messaging thing. Someone wants to know how long I filmed As It Seems for. As It Seems was like was it a 4 or a 5 day shoot? I think it was like a 5-day shoot.
I think it was, might have been.
It was 4 or 5.
1 in the hospital. How many at the house?
I think 3 maybe.
Yeah, I think it was 4 total, but maybe there was a day between.
Yeah,
And then
moved. With financing for As It Seems, part of that was crowdsourcing, and part of it was basically so my mom is she works as no matter what she has a colleague essentially who he produced, or like was listed as a producer on a film in like the 80s or something. And he kind of like took a shine to the fact that like, I'm her daughter, I was making a film. You know, he was an older guy. I worked in his office. He liked, he's like one of those old school guys. Like he wanted a stenographer, and I'm like, I could type fast. So I would like type for him basically. So he kind of like took a shine to that and liked the idea, I think, of like, kicking in some money. And, you know, one of his things was make my first great grandchild the producer, like, or an executive producer. So like there's an infant who's an executive producer on that film. But that also then paved the way for victim number 6. One of our main backers is the grandson of that man. And he's like, make my other 2 children the executive producers on victim number 6. So there's a lot of children producing films if I'm directing the film. But, you know, in some ways, they're not making anything back from this. It's really them believing in your vision and like excited about a project you're working on. And, you know, it's a fun thing for them to be like, yeah, my kid's executive produced a movie. And it just like makes the process fun for other people to be involved in. And, you know, we also did do some fundraising for the new film, and Heather and I personally funded some of that as well. So thank you, Stephen, for your compliment. I'm not great at this Zoom chat thing. I'm not sure if there's anything else that anyone had like questions about or curiosity. Yeah, sorry. Hi, Rob.
Hi. So you said you completed it outside of college, outside of film school.
Yeah.
How much of it in film school did you complete?
We shot it. So basically with NYU, when you do your thesis film, they give you some equipment. They don't give you any money, or, you know, they don't provide anything, but they do give you some equipment. So beyond that, it's really up to the student to do the casting, to raise the funds. We rented equipment outside of like Tish, whatever they provided, because they give a very basic camera package. So then after I graduated, and all you needed to do to pass the class was to have footage. So we did the filming, but beyond sort of the structure of being in a class, it really is up to like us to like create the game plan to, I mean, I had never rented a truck before. I was like driving trucks. I didn't know what was going on. So for like young me, I was, you know, way deep into it. But so after I graduated, we did the edit, we did the color, we did the sound, we did the music. So all of post happened outside of any school environment, if that makes sense. And then obviously festivals and whatever else. Oh, sorry. Scott has to go feed somebody. Sorry, I thought it was a question.
Steven's asking what camera you used to shoot it.
This was for this one, it was I think the Arri Alexa. I believe. I could be wrong. We had some issues with that in post, of some issues with color. There was something that there was something wrong with the camera, or something that was kind of off, so that in post, like we had to do like major work on I don't know if degraining is the right word. There was a lot of grain, and it was hard to color correct for whatever reason. I'm not super technical on that sort of stuff, so forgive my lack of proper you know, terminology, but that was like a big thing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But yeah, so I don't know if anybody had an interest. I sent Debbie the trailer for the new film. If anyone wanted to see, like, because I've been talking about it a little bit. I'm very excited about it. So if everybody is open to watching it.
It's a super sneak peek. We've not released it yet. So we're waiting to hear from our first festival, which again, they're all closed.
Yeah.
So we're dying though. We're proud of the trailer.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard because you know, when you work on something you're proud of, you're like, hey guys, you want to see this thing? Like, look at this. Look at this thing I made. So it's been definitely a challenge. I think we're going to try and do a teaser trailer for it that we can throw up online soon. But the trailer, which we'll show you, is kind of like a secret until a little while. So, so yeah, we hope you guys enjoy it anyway. So
cool.
Another period piece.
How long is the movie? How long is Victim Number 6?
Victim Number 6 is going to be, I think it's 21 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm very bad at making shorts. I have to like kind of go the long short route. It's like, for me, I think it's like the sweet spot between like being too long that it's like, okay, end the movie already, and like being too short where it's like, but wait, I just started settling in. It kind of gives people time to like get into that little world and then get out of it without losing their patience or concentration. So, sorry, way to up your game. Thank you, Dina. Looks really good. What does the trailer supposed to do? Thank you, Steven. I'm glad you guys liked it. Yeah, so that music is the same composer as the guy who did As It Seems, actually. So I love him. He's the best. He's one of my favorite people to work with. If anybody, we used a red. I think it's like the Red Dragon. One of the red cameras. Sorry, I just lost it. Yeah, and our camera team is actually someone I had met during like my freelance time. I had worked on a web series and a short film with Spike Bauman and like his crew of guys. So they actually were able to, you know, he kind of brought his team. They had all their camera gear. They even had all the lighting stuff. So it was sort of like a package type thing, which made it easy for us because it meant we didn't have to like break up for all those different jobs, like trying to find like somebody to be the first AC or he kind of like had his people. And because I worked with him before and he's really an awesome guy, I trust him and I knew like whoever he's going to bring on, and actually I had met one of the guys before. It was not his usual crew, but I knew that was going to be a really solid team. and cohesive because it's like they all knew each other and know how each other works. And the fact that it was like a package with the lighting and that was another thing where, you know, they're used to working on all different kinds of things and commercial type things as well. I don't know what Spike was thinking, because he had not seen As It Seems, and I wrote him a message and I said, hey Spike, you know, I'm working on this new project. I would really like to work with you. You know, he was like kind of into like, you know, I don't know if it's like graffiti, like the graffiti gangs and whatever. He was like really big into that stuff when he was growing up and like in like Brooklyn. And so I knew he would love the idea of shooting in that time period. So I sent him a message and I was like, you know, if you want, I can show you what like my previous film is. And he's like, okay. And I sent it to him. I don't know what he was thinking. He knows me for years now, but he's like, whoa, like, I didn't know you could be that dark and like this and whatever. And I'm like, I don't know if he just didn't expect it or if he like underestimated me, but he quickly was like, because he had read the Victim Number 6 script, and I think he couldn't visualize what kind of tone I was going to set until he saw the previous film, and he's like, wait a minute, actually, I could see what you did, and I could see how this could be, and it like kind of sold him on wanting to work on the newer project. So that was like, you know, kind of like a nice thing as well, because, you know, just because you're friends doesn't mean you necessarily like want to work on each other's stuff or like totally believe in their vision. But it was like good to know, like, I've got this good guy, like really great camera guy, good person, and like he believes in the vision and like he's down and he gets it. What did you do on other people's films? So I like did a lot. So in my past, I did a lot of like sort of producing and assistant directing. I was sort of relegated a lot to the AD role with a lot of more of like student projects. And like when we were like coming out of school, like I think because I'm a little militant though, so I wouldn't recommend myself as an AD because I'm like, we're 2 seconds over, like let's keep going. So I don't know that I would do it again, but I did some producing stuff. And I mostly PA'd when I was doing freelance stuff. And that was I did some set photography as well, but you know, that was sort of like a weird time of like trying to find gigs and like not really knowing, you know, where to find my footing. And once I had like one job, I was able to kind of like get another job. But, you know, I think just like trying to find the work so consistently, for me at that time, like, you know, it was a little bit, I think, overwhelming for me. So when I was able to transition to working at the governor's office, that kind of gave me structure at a time when I really needed it, and sort of an insight into like another side of the film industry, which is, you know, like, I mean, I would never even dream about like what tax credits do, like, and this and that, and like the resources available to filmmakers. So it was interesting to kind of like learn more about that and kind of like see the other side of it. And it gave me a lot of structure. And obviously I worked with wonderful people. So coming out of like some kind of tougher freelance gigs, and then sort of the like inconsistent nature of that, you know, I felt like very comfortable going to a place where there was a little more security and, you know, people who were nice to me and stuff like that. What did you, who did you work with? I worked with Gigi. So, sorry, that was a question from Deb. I worked with Gigi. I think she was relatively new when I was hired. So I never actually met Pat. Sorry, I think you're muted. I don't know what you said.
Yeah, I work with the governor's office all the time, but I didn't know that back then. But yeah, from Bruce to Pat to Pepper to Gigi to now it's Yoni.
Oh, Gigi's Gigi, not there anymore?
She went into private industry. So now Yoni Boxer is the acting director, you know. I don't know if he's going to stay or not, but cool. How long were you there for?
I was there for like a year and a couple of months, like a year and not a full half, but you know, it's like things kind of went in a cycle for me, and I was there and I sort of started questioning whether it was like, you know, if I stay, like there was a lot of benefits, I think. I mean, there were benefits, but there were like benefits also to having sort of this stable gig. But it sort of felt like part of me was wondering, you know, because a lot of the people who work there, like it's sort of like a career job. They like stay and they like make their job, like their career out of working at the governor's office. And I think I got the job when I was like 24, and so I was very young. And coming out of film production and going into an office environment, though it was what I needed at the time, like at a certain point I started sort of thinking, if I stay here for too long, I could have kind of pictured myself getting a little bit too comfortable and then not going and pursuing the things that like I had kind of hoped for myself when I was, you know, leaving college. It didn't happen all at once. I actually like went on a trip to London by myself. I don't know. Don't know why. I just was like, I really need a break. I need to like clear my head. I was alone for a week, and I like had so much fun, and I felt like joy, like a spark of joy almost, that like kind of had been missing for a few years. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to move here for 6 months. And I came back from the trip and I was like, okay, Mom, I'm going to move to London. I went and I spoke with Gigi like that week, and I was like, Gigi, I think I'm gonna leave at the end of the year. And well, she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm gonna move. But I mean, it was a little bit fugazi, but it worked out for me because I think it gave me like time away from, you know, time away to like really clear my head and like refocus and say like, am I living the life I want to live? Like, am I being the person that I want to be? You know, really like fundamentally looking at where I had found myself. Like, I don't get too deep with everybody, but you know, I kind of got to a place where I'm like, this isn't the lifestyle I want. This isn't the headspace I want. I'm not doing work, like creative work that's driving me. It's making me excited. I felt like in a low place, and I came to this conclusion that I'm like, I have to change everything. Like everything must change to start over so that I can like build my way back up to where I want to go with my life. So I came home, and I mean, aside from film stuff, I lost like 10 pounds. I like stopped drinking for like 3 months, and like I was biking everywhere. You know, I like really dove deep. And then, you know, I was like, let's finish the film. Finished As It Seems, got it into festivals. Like I had been working on it all along, but it was half-hearted because I felt there was also, I think, a lot of it tied in with, well, when this is done, it's closing a chapter, saying goodbye to like a period of time that was, you know, a lot of mixed bag stuff, like good, bad, sad. So everything had kind of gotten dragged out, but it was really like a good kickstart, like a good refresh. Then I came back, and I actually, like when I finished the film, I was like kind of sad. Like I was like, I don't want it to be here, but it was what I needed to get to. So it's like, I'm not one to be like spiritual journey, you know, everybody has their own, you know, highs and lows in life. And, you know, that was the end of a low, like probably my lowest low. And I feel like except for coronavirus, like things have been good, and like life has been, you know, full of blessings, and you know, I've had new opportunities, and I've like renewed creativity, and I've met so many people who have like seen my work and complimented it, and like given me like faith in myself when I didn't have faith in myself, till I could like stand on my own 2 feet and be like, okay, like here we are, like what's the next thing? That sounds so hokey and sad, and I don't know, like a mixed bag of emotions, but you know, I'm sure everyone can relate to, you know, we all have highs and lows, and those things all look different to everybody else. But I think the big thing is you get back up. You just always have to try and keep getting back up.
I can just add to that, just from an actor's perspective who was involved with As It Seems, and you took your time to finish it, which I honored. You were going through a lot of things, but what I always appreciated about you, because actors know there are so many projects we get involved with that just never see the light of day. And in some cases, that's actually a good thing. But in this case, I knew she had something special, and As It Seems, I knew we had something special. And I just would quietly be like, hey, Nance, how's it going? And, she was honorable. She finished what she started, and not enough people do that. And so I commend you, Nancy. We all have our stuff in our lives, and we all have reasons and excuses we can come up with for not finishing things. And Lord knows you had your share, but you did finish it. You finished it beautifully, and now you're on to the next thing. And that's just inspiring.
That was one thing. So Heather was a big cheerleader. Like, she was always like, so how's it going? So I like knew at the very least I was disappointing one person if I didn't finish it. But I think we had a conversation, I think at the start of the project, of like, some projects just die after you finish shooting it. Like, especially with thesis films, I think that's probably very common because there's not the required follow through. You're not required to finish it for you to graduate. So there's probably plenty of films that don't actually ever really get to that end point. And I always like knew I would finish it. Who could disappoint? Like, you have all these people. It's not just about you when you're working on a project, right? Like, everybody's involved. And, even with like this new project, like I remember talking with, it was our costume designer. And I think we were talking about like switching one of Heather's outfits, whatever. And she said something like, well, if you wanted her to wear a clown costume, like, I would just have to do it. And I was like, no, you shouldn't have to do it. Like, that's your work product too. Like, it's not just my film. It's everybody who participated, everybody who spent time, all of the actors who like did the work, put in the performances. Like, if you're working on any role on a set, like regardless of where it is in the line or whatever, like, you have to be proud of the work that you do. And you have to have like integrity, too. As a director, like, I see probably a lot of people who like, this is what I want. Like, they have like very clear set of what they are thinking for their film, right? But it's in some ways limiting, like, because we don't know everything. I don't know everything. Otherwise, I would make the movie alone. Like, I would go dress my actors myself. Like, I'm not qualified for it. So if I've got somebody saying to me, like, I'm thinking about this, like, this is the reason why, even if the answer isn't like, oh yeah, I love that, like, let's talk about it. Like, I'm curious, like, what made you think that way? There's been times like someone will say something to me, oh, like this shot, like, what if we try it like this? And I had in my head one thing. What do you think? It's not their job, production designer. Do you like that shot? What do you think? Getting everyone involved and like hearing what people have to say, and also not just putting the blinders on and being like, it's my vision, it's my thing. We're all a team. Yeah, who said it? It's a team sport. And that's true. And I think everyone's got to be proud of their work. Sorry. Wait, you're still on mute. Wait a minute. I think
you're on mute.
Wait.
Sorry about that. I keep muting myself. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's definitely a team without question. If you don't have great people working for you, you're going to have an issue. So you're kind of stuck between listening to people who just kind of know when to mention a thing, which is sometimes it's brilliant, to the person who never stops.
Right.
And you kind of have to get them in a corner and like, enough. Yeah. They don't get it. It's I was directing a film for somebody. They paid me to direct it for them, and most of the people I had, I knew, and I think it was our scripty or somebody couldn't make it. And so somebody said, oh, recommend this guy. And what I didn't know is he kept telling the writer, tell her to do this, tell her to do that. So the third time she said it, I went over to him, I'm like, stop.
Heather, does this sound
like, that's a
familiar?
nice idea, but trust me, I know what I'm doing here. But I was ready to flatten him.
I'm gonna say this is a little bit not the same roles. We had an issue on victim number 6 with somebody who was a referral because someone had to drop out. Like our big thing with, well, my big thing, and like Heather, I'm sure we were on the same page about, I like working with people either I know, I've worked with you, I know like what you're all about. If I don't know you, I want to meet you, talk to you. Like it's got to be like somebody else has worked with you and like knows you and whatever. And we had like one person had to drop out like last minute because of a conflict. And there was some issues with the person that replaced that role. And that was the only place that I felt there was really a major conflict. And I don't usually think about this sort of thing, but also undermining me as the director at times. And I don't know if it was like I'm a woman, but you know, things that bothered me, for example, watching the dailies and I hear him whispering counter directions to my actors. And it was really upsetting to me when I saw that. That was on top of some other issue that had happened with our cinematographer. That was just a respect issue, which I was not cool with. You can't disrespect anybody. And if I'm like, let me listen to my person, don't talk over me and shut me up because I'm the person running the set. So Deb, I totally relate to what you're saying. And that's like, yeah, that's definitely a different story than, you know, you, my production designer, saying, hey, like, what do you think about this? Or like, could we try, like, this is the direction I think we should go in because of, you know, these themes that we're touching on and whatever, that if it may be something slightly deviating from a preconceived notion, like, but you've thought this out and you're on your job and you've showed me like what you're seeing and like, I can dig it and I can be down with it. And, you know, there's a fine line between like trampling over someone else and everybody working together because it's collaborative.
Yeah, he kind of knew the writer, who's a brilliant writer, he kind of knew that she didn't really know what she was doing on set, which is why she hired me. So like he wouldn't tell me, you know, but he would tell her, what about this? And the first time she said, it's like, all right, you know, because you have to, if somebody's hiring you, you want to bring the director, the writer's vision to the screen. So, you know, and sometimes you agree with them and sometimes you explain to them why maybe this is better and you work it out. And if they hired you, they're going to have the final say unless it's ridiculous, you know, and then you got to kind of explain that. Like, you're not going to have a crowd scene of 50 people that's going to cost you a fortune, that's not going to add anything, that's not going to, you know, things like that. Or just casting for somebody once. My first casting job, when I found him, this wonderful blue-eyed, light-haired actor, and he wanted his nephew to play a younger version, who's a dark-skinned, dark-haired actor with a mole over here. And I'm like, you can't do that. You know, you can't do that. And he's like, yeah, well, he's my nephew. I said, then I have to walk. I said, because that's going to make me look like I have no clue what I'm doing. I mean, there's no way this could be the same person unless he had plastic surgery and bleached his skin. Right. You know? But yeah. But you want to listen to, you know, your editors and maybe they have an idea you didn't think about, you know.
Yeah, I think it's a good balance. I mean, there was like definitely something in the edit for victim number 6 where I was like, I really want it to be this way. And my editor, Alex, who I love, he also went to NYU. He's like, I don't really like this idea at all. And then he did it and he's like, okay, it works. So he like wound up liking it. But then there's other things that, like, you know, if somebody makes a suggestion or it's like, this looks like this might work better. Like, I also want to be open because, like, you want your work, like, it's your work product, it's their work product, like, they're trying their best, you want to make it your best. And sometimes, like, 2 heads or 5 heads or 10 heads, like, better than one, because you may not see it from the other person's perspective, or, you know, they may have an insight or a thought that is helpful. But I think I'm also the type, like, there'll be times like I'm at monitor and there's like the hair person, you want to come look at this? Like, or, hey, you want to take a look? Like, making people feel involved and feel important and like that they're part of the process, even if it's not like their job or, you know, I I don't know, like another example of that, but you know, like we're not doing second, like last looks, but hey, what do you think? Doesn't this look cool? Like, how do you feel about this? Or, you know, just like making people feel involved, I think. Like it helps with morale. It makes people feel good. And on overnight shoots, you need as much morale as you can get.
And coffee.
Oh yeah, and the coffee, of course. I'm more of a diet caffeinated Coke person, but thank you, Dina, for your words. So yeah, that's like, I mean, I don't know even what I had, like all these little notes because I was a little bit nervous to talk today because I'm getting more comfortable, but only just now. I'm not a great public speaker, especially around people I don't know. I tend to get very self-conscious. So I appreciate that everybody's been so receptive to what I've had to say, and that you consented to watching my film, and I hope it was enjoyable for everybody.
Very much so.
So thankful that you showed it. It looked okay, but of course it's much smoother in person, you know, but it said it was just one that always stuck out at me, and so I'm glad that everybody got to see that. Is it still on the festival trail?
Sorry?
It's done with festivals now though, right? As it seems.
Yeah, it is. I'm sorry?
Oh, but I guess victim number 6, you're waiting for the film festivals to open back up, right?
We had, yeah, Heather. So God bless Heather, because the things that the festival submissions and everything, I'm like, I got to the end of filming and everything else, and I'm like, okay, I'm tired. I'm a little tired now. And Heather's like, I'm on it. And so she's kind of been really spearheading a lot of, like, you know, I mean, the Excel document would, like, you know, your heart would break. It's so beautiful, of the festivals and the submission dates, and you know, she's putting me to shame, and I think I'm pretty good with an Excel document. But yeah, so I, you know, we submitted to some things, but I think
we started, like, it was done in time where I could have gotten it into my own festival, but there's, you know, I could do that next year. Like, I really wanted to give this film a premiere. So we started for the first, you know, 6 months or so, just submitting to Oscar qualifying festivals, because we want to roll the dice and see, can we have a really, like, mind-blowing premiere? Who knows? I think it's worthy of that. And so we're taking a chance. Now, granted, those are going to be harder. We're, you know, definitely, you know, competing with, like, the top tier filmmakers. But I believe that Nancy is a top tier filmmaker, and I think we have something really good here. So we're starting there, but again, so law of averages being what it is, and then now we're like, you know, little fish in a big pond with those festivals.
Well, you know, you got to try. My first film got into Flickers, which is Academy Award nominating, and my first film I directed got into Holly Shorts, and the film I directed, somebody else got into LA Shorts. Of course,
so
she submitted to a lot more, but, you know.
Yeah, we submitted, but then again, I think they're all the California festivals, I have a feeling, are going to be canceled. Already we know that Palm Springs is canceling all the in-person events. So, and we would not elect to show our film online there because they're not streaming. The way they're handling it is they're just basically go to our website and here's our list of official selections, and of those films, here's their link to watch their film on, whether it's our Vimeo page or whatever, or not. That's not even a streaming premiere. That's not a premiere. That's just you can come watch our film, which we're not doing that. So it's a bummer. So we'll have to see. It might not be till the fall or maybe later, but then
hopefully in our lifetime, though.
Yeah.
As I sit at home and waste away, I'm like, when will I ever be outside again? So I hope sooner rather than later.
I try to keep it in the perspective that we are all going through this, and while film festivals and our film projects are dear to our hearts and sustain us really as artists, we need this, right? But you know, there are more important, more pressing things in the world, and this will come back around, and we're all in the same boat. There's not a lot of production going on. We're not like sitting on the sidelines while everyone else is doing something, you know, so we just got to figure out other ways to stay creative.
Yeah. I mean, we're hoping that we're going to be able to have LIFE. That's July 10th to the 16th, because things are starting to open up for better or worse slowly in New York. And the good thing about the Belmore Movies is it's 350 seats.
Yeah.
So we literally could scatter probably easily 100, you know, and okay, we can't fill the theater if that's what it comes to, but we could scatter seats, put like a piece of paper on where you can sit, or if you came with, you know, 3 people or whatever, you know, but it's, who knows what's going to happen. And that's, do we wait to the fall? But there could be the second wave in the fall. So if the last resort would be going virtual if we had to, but we're going to try not to, but who knows? The thing is, none of us know anything at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like how every conversation like eventually devolves to coronavirus though. I don't know if everyone has had this experience in their personal lives. We get on the phone and it's like, so what do you think about this today? And then somehow it's always, I think it's I don't want to say it's funny, but you know, having a lot of international friends, we all have a group chat. And at some point I'm like, hey guys, like, how is everyone? And as weird as it sounds, like, it is true. Like, everybody is experiencing this. It was like the one time I'm like, okay, everybody is home right now in Denmark and in Sweden and in Paris and this and that. So yeah, I think we're like all connected in the disconnect at the end of it. I wish we were more connected though in reality. I think today I kind of reached my sad point of like, but when? But like, because every day I'm hoping like there'll be like a little insight into like, what can I expect for my future? But yeah, I'm calling a do-over on my 29th year. So I'm being like gypped of my last year in my 20s. I'm calling a do-over. I'm going to lie to my children someday and be like, yeah, no.
But you haven't seen the Murder Hornets yet. We're not done. It's like, what?
We don't need any more. Put it away, Lord.
Well, the interesting thing too is running the film festival is going now on I think it's the 23rd year or the 23rd year this July. And there was a big difference in the films that happened before 9/11 and then after 9/11. And we're going to see the same thing with this.
Yeah.
So it's the world is going to change. And with a couple of guys, it starts out before this happened, and then the last part of the 3rd episode takes place at this point. Now it's going to be after. Luckily, it takes place 6 months after the scene before, because who knows when it's even going to get done. But I want to also play on this a little bit as to why this one thing happens is because the guy's thinking of his own mortality, and it's going to be because of this. But who knows what it's going to look like after? You know, it's just none of us know. So we're going to kind of have to play with that. Yep, so it's 10 to 9. Anybody have any questions, thoughts? Anything they want to talk about? Ask Nancy, ask Heather. Yeah, Heather's going to be in 2 of my films. Rob, I don't know, you saw Only Woman, right? You
Sure.
Yeah, so she's in the Italian bar scene. But I think she had
Right.
blonde hair then. Yeah.
No, I was brunette then.
She's the hussy.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I sometimes forget that you were ever blonde. It's weird. It was weird watching you be blonde again. I was like, yeah, that was it. That was a time.
It was a long time. So much so that some people that have known me for a really long time actually still see me and like forget that I'm a brunette now. It's been 2 years and somehow.
Did it freeze?
Oh no.
Heather froze.
It's froze up.
Don't just freeze.
Yeah, it froze, Heather. There you are. All right. Anybody else have anything to say? Anybody? What are your next plans? Anybody have? I mean, it's really hard to plan anything, but is anybody trying to plan anything at this point for once this is over? Oh no, Rob, you're doing like an actual feature at your house right now, are you not?
Yeah, I figured. I originally just threw it out to a bunch of actor friends of mine, and it turns out like 18 actors sort of committed to doing this feature film. And I didn't want to do anything on coronavirus, but I knew that there's no way, shape, or form I could get all of these actors in one place. So they were all just basically trapped. So I was like, hey, you're trapped. Can I use you for a couple of weeks? And they all said yeah. And so right now my eldest son, who's 20 and he's a filmmaker, he actually just finished shooting his first feature last summer. We've just been writing this kind of awesome script that has nothing to do with coronavirus, but at the same time, it's a bunch of people who are trapped and can't go anywhere. So we're shooting a good chunk of it down in our basement, which is unfinished and it's real creepy looking. And everyone else is shooting their part at their house. So, it's what I talked about. Deborah and I, we've talked about this before, that art really can't be contained. If you watch all these, all these people doing different things, singing and doing all these different things in quarantine, we've realized that, you can't contain art. We have to get out. It's going to get out no matter how much you try to lock it down.
Yeah. I mean, I got a text from Abigail Hawk just going like, I miss everybody. I'm stuck with 2 toddlers. I said, well, maybe I'll write something. And I just got this idea because I saw something Jeremiah Kip did that he did by Zoom. I said, well, why don't we do it? Richard, played by Sal Rendino, what about he's in court and he finds out that the other lawyer has COVID, so he can't go home.
Wow.
So it's a call. It's a call from Lucas Hassel, who plays John, a call from John to Richard on his birthday, who's stuck in a hotel, and he decides to photobomb him with his sister-in-law, and his whatever. And of course, he gets Richard in this thing where he's doing a striptease, and he turns around and everybody's on screen, So it's just something fun that we could do. If it comes out great, fine, and if it sucks, who cares, But.
Yeah.
Just something for people to play with because they want to do something, So,
right.
Heather, you know me. I wrote it in 5 minutes, and we have a screen.
I love it. It's going to be fun. And that's a fun team. I got to be on that set one of the days, and it was a fun day because it was like a reunion. I knew most of the people on that set, and it was just.
Oh, yeah, Kieran's in this one too.
Yeah. It was really, really fun to just be a part of. You're another one, Debbie. You're really good at putting good people together and having a good team, and I always love being on your set. So I know you guys will have a good time zooming in.
It should be fun. We don't know how it's going to look. We're going to figure it out, but we figure we'll do the way it's supposed to be. John can hide himself, and I'll be on his computer until we popping people in and out. And then I think we're also going to do single screens of people just doing their lines. So this way, if we actually want to cut to it, and you're going to be editing it, Rob. So
yeah,
more than likely, yeah, unless Mark wants to, but you'll probably be editing it.
Send it my way.
Rob's great to work with. Yeah, so he did edited Gem and the Photo Op and Confidant,
right.
Cool.
Yeah. So those are ready to go. They're in 2 fests, and we'll see what happens. If they're going to be online, I don't really know what's going to happen, but we'll find out. All right, so I think this is it. I want to thank you, Nancy, so much for coming and showing us your films, and we're going to edit out the trailer before it goes online.
Thank you for having me. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Heather, for coming. Thank you, everybody else.
Glad to be here.
Thank you.
This will eventually be put up on YouTube, and if you want to see it eventually, let me know. I'll send you the link. But everybody be safe.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Some writing. And thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care, everyone.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Creating.
Bye-bye.
Night.
Night.
Night, folks.